there, welcome to my channel. Today I'm out here on my back deck to give you an update on all of my flowers before I cut them back, just like I did for my containers out front, which I showed last week. It's actually evening time. We just had dinner, which I showed a few clips of that. I use basil from our garden to make kind of a pesto variation. I use walnuts instead of pine nuts, avocado oil instead of olive oil, and then Parmesan, lemon juice, salt and pepper. I think that's it. We blended it up in the food processor and then had it with mini bow tie pasta and then grilled steak, which was really good. Just a really nice summer meal. So I am going to be cutting back my flower containers back here. You can see this one. It's looking nice and beautiful, big, but I want to kind of give them a rejuvenation cut, which is hard sometimes, but really good for them. But I'll go ahead and show you kind of how they're doing before we get to it. All right, so walking on out, immediately you can see the bubble gum. We have several pots, one here, corner. We have our 3 little pots down here. Of course, our centerpiece, this pot here, and then this little guy back in the corner over here. And you can see our sprinklers just kicked on back here. I don't know if you can hear them or if they're loud, but that Imolaza smart sprinkler controller is working really well. We love it. So last year, I remember thinking I wanted to have kind of a more uniform color scheme around our yard. So I really went with the same types of flowers this year. I'm torn on if I like that or if I like having a little more variety. I will say it's really neat to see the pink. It feels just easy on your eye. It feels like everything kind of works together, especially like if I'm out in my yard and I peek up at the deck, I just see all these little touches of pink. That bubble gum really pops. And of course that chartreuse lime green of the lime thyme coleus as our thriller centerpiece. But I don't know, jury's still out. I'm not sure if I like changing it up, having different flowers out back versus out front, or if I like having them all kind of similar colors, similar scheme. I'm not sure, so we'll see. Time will tell. But this is one of my favorite times of year to kind of evaluate and figure out what I want to start doing next year. So I just make notes, I jot down ideas, and just kind of go with it. So we'll see. I feel like these 2 pots are really fun and work really well together. I like seeing that one kind of mirrored and peeking out beyond the little seating area, but you can definitely tell that this has some scragglers down here and it needs to be cut back. So I'm excited to do that. But we have our Proven Winners Super Tunia Vista Bubblegum. Of course, this is kind of my main flower this year. This is a red type of sweet potato vine, which I had the hardest time. I wanted the really dark, almost black sweet potato vine, just to kind of contrast our lime thyme coleus. And you can see this one's starting to really shoot up there. Remember, these can get 40 inches tall. It'll be neat when this one and this one really both start getting some height, I think. But I wanted that contrast. I really wish I could have found the darker variety. And then of course back here, and this is not the best spot for it, but we have our little Super Bells, lemon slice, not doing great. Kind of the same story as out front. It could be this one's not getting enough light. Could be that these are a little too aggressive and kind of overpower it, but I'm not sure. So these 2 pots are the exact same. They mirror each other. They're kind of growing at the same rate. But what I have noticed about the coleus, and remember this can take sun or shade, supposedly, these get shade more. So if I turn this way, this is in the sun all day long, except half of them get shaded under that little upper tier there. But this one down here, same planting, but you can see that this coleus isn't thriving quite as much as the other ones. And it could be because it has, you know, more demanding container mates. This one has the bright chartreuse, sweet Caroline, sweet potato vine, and of course more bubblegum, more of the red sweet potato vine, but it's just not holding up quite as well as the other ones that get a little more shade. So, and you can see something's kind of picking at it. I might have to address that. Okay, kind of funny. My little kitchen garden, this is my second year trying this, and nothing ever does super well in here. I'm not sure if it gets too hot with the metal or if it's not deep enough. I'm not sure. I mean, we're getting our little tomatoes, which is the fun of it, and we do walk by and just pop them in our mouths, which is the whole purpose, but it doesn't look very cute. So I'm thinking next year I'm just going to plant those up with flowers. We have our centerpiece here, which because of this umbrella, I guess it does get half shade. So one thing I do, I switch this and I flip this end over here and I kind of even out the amount of shade they get so that this side and this side aren't too different. And then this guy, it looks so pretty. I really love this bubble gum, but it's really starting to get really huge. I need to cut it back and just kind of keep it a little more contained. Our lemon slice over here is doing fine. It's okay. I think this is my last year with Super Bells. I don't know. It could be me. Could be the container pairings. I know I said this in the other video, but I tend to just kind of go for it. I know you're not supposed to plant the Super Bells with these really vigorous growers like the sweet potato vine or the bubblegum or any Vista series from Proven Winners that are just, you know, huge because they take them over. But I don't know, I just thought it would be a cute little pairing. And they do look cute, but I just don't think they can hold up. I did talk about my maintenance schedule in the last video last week. Last night was actually my night to go around and spray for budworm. Did that, so everything's been sprayed. I haven't seen any caterpillars. And then of course I do the Proven Winners water soluble plant food every third watering about. This weekend I did stretch it just because, you know, life happens, you get busy. So I think I went 4, maybe 5 waterings before I got around to it again, and they still look good. Like, they don't look bad or anything. You can't tell that they were like going without. I just noticed when I stay on schedule, they tend to look their absolute best. More vibrant, the foliage is greener, and they just seem healthier overall. All right, in terms of cutting, I'm sure there's like an exact science and specification that you're supposed to cut back to. There might be a certain amount of inches you're supposed to cut back, but I just do what works for me, what I think looks good and feels right, and it's always worked out, so I don't overthink this. I use a pair of scissors, you could use clippers, whatever works, and I just go around, keep it very simple, and just give them little haircuts. Just help them kind of conserve their energy and put it into more blooms, fresh growth, and just looking a little bit fresher, especially through these really hot summer weeks. It seems wrong, I know. Um, I'm sure there's a million different ways to do this. Again, I'm not giving advice on how to do this. This is just what I do, and I found it to be really helpful every summer. It seems really harsh to cut back your flowers, especially when they're looking good. They're not going downhill, but I have always found that it's really helpful. It refreshes them, and before I even realize it, they're pushing new growth and they're kind of spilling out again, looking beautiful. But I know it feels wrong. Feels weird. I don't even think about it when I cut anymore. I used to feel bad and think, oh, and I'm sure you could cut back more than I did. Some of them I'd cut back pretty harsh, and some I would kind of leave, like one of the sweet potato vines I kind of left because I liked how it kind of spilled over in an asymmetrical look. But again, I'm sure there's a million different ways to do this. It might feel wrong, might feel weird, but I've found that it really helps. Another thing, I probably should have used like a pop-up bag or a bin or something just to kind of contain the mess, because this is messy. I forget every time, I forget how messy this is, but I'm gonna mow soon, so I'm just gonna go ahead and blow all of the leaves and petals, all the blooms off the deck and into my yard. We'll bag them up. It'll be fine. Won't even know it happened. All right, got it pretty cleaned off. Here's just kind of some after shots. Pretty good growth taken off. This one, I think I could cut back a lot more actually. I might do that. Just didn't want to be too shocking with this. I know they look a lot different. Again, it feels wrong, but it'll be good. I think I could take more off that one too. We'll see. I might come back out tomorrow. It's starting to get dark. I think we have a pretty sunset going on. If I could see around. You know, why don't we do that? I'll go show you my veggie garden. It's kind of hit and miss. Good things, bad things happening there. We had a windstorm and my tomatoes got blown over. I'll show you. And then I'll show you my rock wall out by the road. Maybe a few other things. We'll see. And see if we can catch a nice sunset while we're at it. All right, coming around the corner, this is the container I transplanted. This is from my mom, kind of that red, white, and blue. Looking really pretty. It's kind of wet right now because we have our sprinklers going and it's getting some supplemental watering. And then we have a container over here. I can't get too close, otherwise I'll get sprayed. But that is from my sister-in-law. You know what? I need to cut that one back too. I'll do that tomorrow morning. But I love this container. It actually has inspired me because my son is graduating high school next year, and the colors of his high school and the colors of his college, Montana, that he's going to, are both maroon. So I'm wondering if next year I do a lot of maroon, maybe some of the silver dichondra falls, and kind of make it themed toward his kind of graduation and graduation party. All right, but coming around to my garden, first thing I need to show you is my elaborate staking system on my corn here. I put up this guy right here, started to lean in a windstorm. He's actually doing fine. I don't even think he's leaning against this rake anymore, but I put this in here. I can take it out now, I think. He's not even leaning. You can kind of see how it was leaning and then corrected. But when the wind was blowing, I had to come out because my tomatoes toppled. They smushed my onions. You can see they're all bent in there. This is our basil that I've grown from seed, which is actually doing a lot better than my amazel basil over here, which is struggling. One of them died. Looks like I've got Ooh, some ripe romaines in there. And then I've already pulled a nice red slicing tomato. Oh, here's one. Ooh, a couple of them. How fun is that? So I can come back and pull those off. But I basically ran a bar through my trellis, which is kind of empty this year, especially compared to last year. I thought beans were a little more aggressive, but these are very polite and just neat as a pin growing over. So note for next year. I'd like a little more growth for next year. There's the sunset. Ooh, okay. Over here on this side, I jammed down one of my kids' little stilts into the dirt to kind of hold this bar back, and it's running through the tomato cages, holding them upright so they don't flop. Again, I was in a hurry and just kind of did what I could to save all of my stuff here. So hopefully my onions are okay. They're all bent, but everything kind of got smushed. That's okay. All right, sunset moment for this cabbage that I planted by seed last year. Survived all year. Didn't do much last year, and then came back with a vengeance. It has a nice little head growing there, one growing here. It might have another one. No, but how pretty is that? So pretty. I do have a few rogue tomatoes that came up from some of the Sun Sugar cherry tomatoes. I decided to have fun and just let them go. I also have a potato that came up from last year, so I'm kind of just letting it do its thing and just see what we have. We have plenty of onions still, so I figure if they infringe, that's all right. All right, really pretty sky out. Really, really pretty. Walking out to our rock wall. Hopefully we can get a better view. I really like our views facing west. Okay, here's our Bermuda beach. I did lose one. This is one that I had planted, if you watched that video, over here, and it kind of shocked them. Again, I think that side has been treated with some sort of sterilant. I know our city does spray, so it's like those ones over there stuck their feet in and just went, nope. So it got plenty of water here, but it just died. So I do have one missing, but I think they're so pretty, especially in the nice sunset light. I cut back our salvia recently, so those should be pushing out a lot more purple. But I just think it's looking really pretty. My lamb's ear, I might have to cut back some of these blooms. I mostly like the lamb's ear for its foliage, that really pretty silvery color, and of course it's really soft. Really pretty, just does really well out here. I did transplant a little rose. This was actually supposed to be for my sister-in-law. Looks like maybe, is it doing okay? I think it's doing okay. And then what else? Oh, this is a limelight hydrangea that I rescued from my back hillside that just has that terrible soil. Things just really don't like to grow back there. But I found our rock wall is fine, so things grow out here. So this is kind of where I send things that need a little boost to kind of come and thrive and heal and look beautiful. Okay, one more quick spot. I have my little cut flower garden area that isn't quite what I thought it would be, but whatever is. But I'll show it to you just to kind of give you an update. One more look at the sunset. Really pretty. Really pretty summer sunset. You can see my balcony pot. I did cut those back, and I swear they already look like they're bouncing back. All right, so here's my little cut flower area. You can see I have some cosmos here, and then my zinnias are starting to bloom. Now this is this kind of weird area that normally is just weeds. I do have my sad little dahlias I planted from seed. They're not doing much. I don't know if they will. I'm leaving them just to see, but I think my takeaway is definitely go with tubers for dahlias. I have some sunflowers that hopefully will start blooming. I popped some of these in late, so we'll see what happens. But these back here are like the big 10 to 12 footers, so who knows? We'll see. Maybe come fall we'll have some sunflowers, but not quite as packed as I had thought, not as many dahlias as I had wanted or anticipated, but definitely have a pretty little pocket back here. Much better than just having weeds, that's for sure. Well, that's about it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you next time. Bye.